Take a look at this image captured by our own meteorologist, Corey Reppenhagen, this morning in Boulder at like 6:45 in the morning. And we're taking a live look at Boulder right now. It's cold, but certainly not as cold as it was then when Corey took that picture. So the question I think we all want to know is like running. I mean, I'm not that person. When I see people running in this weather, I'm like, God bless. Like that is just really intense. But like, is it healthy?
No, in fact, it can be very unhealthy. So if you're not used to exercise, you definitely should not be actually running in the cold weather because it can actually trigger cardiovascular system stress. We've seen people have heart attacks and such, even from shoveling snow. So if you're someone who's not a regular exerciser, it's a hard no. If you're somebody who has a history of a lot of medical conditions like heart disease, it may be something you want to talk to your doctor about before you do it. If you're a top-notch athlete, used to running, you have to be extra careful because when you're running outside, your body is actually working much harder. So your metabolism, you're burning a lot more calories with the same type of exercise. You fatigue a lot easier because the cold, dry air actually ends up dehydrating you more. But because of the cold, your thirst receptor doesn't trigger. So when it's hot outside, we feel thirsty, we drink. When it's cold outside, we're not as thirsty, we're 40% less thirsty, and cold water doesn't feel good to drink, so we don't drink as much. So it's actually a little stress test on your body. You have to be really careful. And then you have to make sure you're properly clothed. Our friend here was running in shorts when very cold temperatures, and we can lose body heat that way. So our body has to work even harder to sort of warm up our core body temperature. And then you could slip or fall.
There's a culture in Colorado, though, about the hardcore athlete, right? I can't say we're surprised to see people out who do that. However, there's a lot of people like me, you, who we're not going to be running, even if it's cold and there wasn't snow on the ground. No, thank you. But okay, so if cold weather's putting stress on your heart, on your system, what is a safe way to exercise this time of year, this kind of cold?
Yeah, so if you do want to exercise outdoors, then you need to spend a lot of time warming up indoors. So, and this applies to shoveling as well, or any other types of activities. So make sure your core temperature is really warm. Make sure you're keeping up with the water and the fluid, because that's really important. The safest thing probably to do is actually to exercise indoors, because the temperature is much more controlled. The humidity as well, because when you have that dry air outside, your body actually has to humidify it through your lungs when it puts it inside. So because your lungs are humidifying all the air, they can also have problems with mucus, and the immune system inside of our lungs can also change. So it makes us a little bit more prone to respiratory infections as well. So it's not just heart disease, but respiratory problems as well. The thickness of our blood can change in the cold temperature as well. So again, really important to regulate. And then frostbite is big. So like the tip of our nose, the tips of our ears, the tips of our fingers, they don't have a lot of blood vessels. And those parts get cold, especially because they're exposed. So it's really important to watch for that as well.
And I have a question. We're being counted down, but like when it comes to metabolism, I think this is like less about exercising and more about all the sweets we're about to consume and all the food during the holidays. Is it like, do we get more of a break during winter months?
We do, in fact. So our metabolism revs up when it's cold outside.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got to keep us warm.
Music to our ears.
I know, that's all we needed. Thank you.
So we actually burn off our brown fat, which is
Wow.
fat, and that's how we generate heat, and it's a really nice way. So, but don't counteract it with all those snacks, ladies.
Oh, we will. We will.
Then you better go and exercise indoors.
Thank you. Dr. Payal Kohli, I didn't introduce you. We just went right into the segment, but we know you've been keeping us safe and informed for years, so we appreciate you.
Picturing you in the cold weather being like, hey, go inside, just like yelling out your car window. Thank you.